Skeletons of the Marital Closet by Tang. Chapter 1451. Shawn pulled a chair and sat down. Nicole, has Mommy been with you all evening? Yeah, she's been working on her sketches and I've been drawing my pictures. Do you find Mommy behaving a bit strangely? Nicole shook her head. No, Daddy, you're the one who's strange. Shawn was taken aback. I'm strange? Nicole pointed to the figures in the painting. Daddy, look. This is Joshua, my big brother. He has to stand here. We can't paint him to be somewhere else. Seeing Shawn's furrowed brow, Nicole shook her head and sighed repeatedly. Well, it's fine. Daddy suddenly became so foolish. There's no way I can get through to him. No wonder Mommy had already given up and left. Tomorrow, I'll have the housekeeper frame this painting and put it by my bedside. That way, I can see it every day. Nicole carefully put the painting away. Shawn could not comprehend. All he could think about now was having another child. He asked, Nicole, would you mind if Mommy and Daddy plan to have another baby and you become a big sister? I wouldn't mind. You can have a baby or not. It's your choice. No need to ask me for my opinion. I support you either way, Nicole said. She thought that she already had a big brother. If she had a younger sibling, would there be too many kids at home? Would it be too noisy? Shawn picked her up and pinched her nose. Nicole, you're so mature. He did not want another child, even daydreaming about it. As long as Gale was willing to have more, he could support as many as she wanted. Children were angels, the physical manifestation of him and his Gale's love. Unfortunately, this was only Shawn's one-sided desire. She probably would not want another child. Up to this day, Shawn could not fathom what Gale was thinking. He had always been certain that the person she loved was Arum. However, Gale consistently stood by his side on the same front as him, rejecting Arum persistently. Shawn could not help but think again. Perhaps she still had feelings for him. Was her feelings toward him perhaps not those born out of pity or charity, not because he was a father to their child? Had he misunderstood her? Nicole covered her mouth, yawning. Daddy, I'm tired. All right, let's go to sleep. After putting Nicole to sleep, Shawn returned to the master bedroom. When he pushed the door open, he saw Gale standing by the window. She was wearing a silk nightgown, her hair still damp, hanging behind her, gently swaying as a few strands were lifted by the breeze. She was on the phone. The master bedroom was very quiet, and Shawn could faintly hear the voice coming from Gale's phone. Although he could not make out what was being said, he could tell the person talking was Matthew. Shawn trod lightly and walked up behind her. He reached out and embraced her shoulders, letting her lean against his chest. Gale still held the phone to her ear. Matthew's voice was very weak, feeble. I need heart surgery to place a stent. Gale, won't you come to see me? I know you're listening. Why won't you answer me? Have I irritated you this much? After all, I'm your father. The surgery carries risks, and I don't even know if I'll come off the operating table. If something happens to me... Gale clutched the phone tightly. However, Shawn reached out to take it away. Chapter 1452. He said quietly, Don't answer. However, she shook her head. Just relax and wait for the surgery. The doctor is the best cardiac specialist in Sea City, and this surgery is a piece of cake to him. There won't be any risk. Don't frighten yourself, Gale said. Any surgery carries risk. It's never completely safe. It's just placing a stent, Matthew sighed. I'm already old. When I was young, I drank and stayed up late to socialize. My body has long deteriorated. With my poor health, I'm afraid this might be it for me. You're overthinking it. I asked the doctor, and the success rate would be very high. It's not considered a major surgery, Gale replied. Nevertheless, the treatment costs were very high. However, money was no issue for her, so it was inconsequential. On the other end, Heather's voice came through. But a family member needs to come to sign the surgery consent form and have a pre-surgery discussion. If Gale doesn't come, how can the doctor proceed with the surgery? Heather suggested. Isn't Mary at the hospital as well? Have her come over and sign the papers. Upon hearing that, Gale immediately rejected the idea. No way. She didn't want her mom to meet Matthew and Heather. It would only lead to more trouble. Then you come over. I'm not a family member. You and Mary are. I can't sign this paper. If I could, I'd have done it long ago, and I wouldn't have to come begging you, Heather said in a sarcastic tone. Fine, I'll come over. You just handle the arrangements with the doctor on your end, Gale responded. Matthew hurriedly said, Gale, since you're coming, why don't you meet with me as well? I have something to tell you. We can talk now. I prefer to say it in person, in case I don't make it off the operating table. This might be the last time we will see each other, Matthew requested. He sounded so pitiful that Gale's heart softened a bit. A brief meeting should be fine. All right, but don't overthink it. It's really just a routine surgery. The medical expenses have already been settled, so you don't need to worry, she agreed. Heather chimed in from the side, sarcastic. Yes, it's true. When it comes down to it, it's Aram, his ex-son-in-law, who's coming to help both financially and otherwise. His own daughter is as cold as a stone. All right. Can you please hold your tongue? I'm just telling the truth. What have I said that's not true? You were unconscious for these 2 days, and I've had it rough. I've had to endure both the disdain of others and constant reminders to pay the bills. I've never experienced this kind of humiliation, Heather complained. Gale hung up the phone directly. She sighed in relief, leaning into Shawn's embrace, listening to his steady heartbeat against her chest. Peaceful. Shawn's hand brushed through her hair. Gaily, why did you let them believe that it was Aram who paid for the medical expenses? It's true that Aram paid initially. Even though you later settled it, I didn't want Matthew to know that we paid. She didn't mind giving all the credit to Aram. He did indeed have good intentions and did that. You don't want Matthew to know that you're soft-hearted, is that it? Shawn said. You seem to have seen through me again. Shawn, are you a mind reader? He lowered his head and kissed her forehead. I think what you think. Worry about what you worry about. I'm afraid if he knows that I'm soft-hearted, he might start making unreasonable demands, and then he'd get more and more demanding. She did not want to give Matthew any hope. She would rather let him think she's heartless. She did not need his approval. She simply wanted to be at peace with herself. Chapter 1453. Matthew was in the wrong. However, she had to live with a clear conscience. Letting Matthew live was the greatest act of kindness she could carry out. I understand. No need to explain. Do you want me to accompany you to the hospital? Shawn tightened his grip on her arm. She shook her head. I can go alone. You're always like this. Shawn tapped her forehead with his index finger. Gale looked up at him. How so? It's just because I'm afraid it might inconvenience you. Are your personal matters an inconvenience? It's more important than work. But I really feel like I can handle it on my own. Shawn cupped her face. Gaily, you are more vulnerable. You don't need to be so strong and independent. If she was softer, he could protect her more. Gale gazed into his deep eyes. It's a habit. It's hard to change how I am. During the 4 years I was away from you, I had to take care of everything myself. No one helped me. She went from being a first time mother to becoming very skilled at taking care of the kids, dropping them off at kindergarten, enrolling them in extracurricular classes, doing handicrafts, and attending parent teacher meetings. She even had to endure the malice of some neighbors. A single woman with 2 children always got bullied. There were also some unscrupulous men who wanted to get close to her and find an opportunity to harass her. Gale faced all of it alone. She had no one to support her. Whatever problems she had, she faced alone and never thought of looking for another man or another person to rely upon. It was only after returning to Sis City that things began to change. Regardless of the situation, Shawn was always behind her. He was there whether she was right or wrong, unconditionally supporting her. Shawn let out a sigh. So you should try to get used to it. Get used to handing things over to me. Gale thought for a moment. I'll try. It's also my fault. I left a gap in your life for 4 years. Fortunately, we still have many, many years in the future, don't we? Shawn said. He was testing her. Would there still be a future between them? Gale met his gaze. Forget it. You don't need to answer me. Shawn suddenly interrupted her. Gale's expression showed puzzlement. What happened? He asked her and then said she did not need to answer. I dare not listen. I don't know what your answer is, and I don't have enough confidence right now. Gaily, wait a bit longer. Don't answer me for now, Shawn said. He could not guarantee that she would always be with him, that she would anticipate a future with him. Shawn felt that he had not done enough and he was not enough. He could not guarantee that her answer would be the one he wanted to hear, so he decided not to hear it for now. Chapter 1454. He wanted to live in his delusion, hoping his illusion of their love could last a day longer. Perhaps, after some time, Gale's answer would be the one he wanted, and then he would ask her again. At this moment, Shawn found himself in a state of confusion. He did not know if Gale loved him or Aram. It was like she never really let him go, but at the same time, she had completely moved on from him. Gale smiled and said, Shawn, are you lacking confidence in yourself now? Before, I was very confident, even bordering on arrogance. But now, falling in love with someone makes you cautious. Why? Because you are afraid of losing them, Gale said. Actually, I've already thought of how to answer you. My answer is already in my heart. Are you sure you don't want to hear it now? Shawn looked at her for a few seconds and then averted his gaze, saying, He would not listen. He could not listen. He rarely was so flustered and uncertain. He quickly softens his tone. Gale, I'm going to listen. Tell me. I take back what I said earlier. No, I don't want to say it now. Gale, my dear Gale. Shawn did not know what to say to make her happy. So there was a future for him and her, right? They had many, many more years ahead of them, did they not? She should answer quickly. He really wanted to hear. It's getting late. I need to rest. I have to go to the office tomorrow. You can skip work tomorrow. You don't need to go. I'm more interested in hearing your answer now. A company with a market value of several billion. How can I just not work? Yes, you're more important, Gale laughed and said. You make it seem like I am a seductive temptress. Shawn sighed. Gale, stop poking at my heart. I can't take it anymore. Her teasing was unbearable. Heaven knows how much he looked forward to Gale, saying she still loved him and had no feelings for Aram. He dreamed of hearing it. It was so close that he could almost hear it. Hey, there's no one like you. You said you didn't want to hear it at first, and now you're pushing me to say it. I was wrong. This drink won't work. Gale climbed out of his arms and yawned lazily. Good night, Shawn. Shawn did not want to let her go. He held her tightly around the waist. Let go. No. Shawn. No way. Release me. No. After a few rounds of confrontation, Gale frowned. I'm angry. That tactic was the most effective. Chapter 1455. Shawn's hand immediately relaxed. Gale promptly wriggled free, kicked off her shoes, and darted into the bed. She lay down and said, Let's sleep. Good night. Shawn adjusted his tie, gazing at her hopelessly. It was destined to be a sleepless night for him. He lay down but not giving up on Gale just yet. He leaned closer, his breath heavy. Gale, am I being presumptuous? Is our future going to be long? She just would not answer. Guess. I dare not guess, afraid of guessing wrong. Be bolder. Shawn pushed aside her hair, resting his chin on her shoulder. I will be very cautious about everything related to you. Actually, Gale had made her intentions clear. She started sleeping in the master bedroom, no longer trying to sleep in separate rooms. She also no longer rejected his embraces, hand-holding, kissing, and even sleeping with him. She was also growing distant from Aram, not mingling with him as closely and frequently as before, which could lead to misunderstandings. That was partly because Gale knew about Aram's feelings for her, and partly because she did not want Shawn to get jealous. Gale had done so much, but Shawn was still hesitant and lacked the confidence to confirm if her heart was truly with him. Men in love could be quiet, confused, even if they were as clever as Shawn. All right, stop thinking about it. It's time to sleep. Gale turned around, facing him. She lifted her hand and closed his eyes. Close them. Shawn immediately did so, but he reached out to pull her into his embrace, even lifting a foot to drape over her, enveloping her completely. I can't sleep, Gale. My mind is full of... Shawn had not finished his sentence when his lips suddenly went soft. Gale took the initiative to kiss his lips lightly, but it lasted only a few seconds. Gale pulled back. All right, a kiss as compensation. Shawn definitely could not sleep at all. He lowered his head, wanting to kiss more, but Gale repeatedly pushed his chest, saying, No, I'm really tired. I have to go to the hospital tomorrow. Don't mess around, Shawn. He had no choice but to give up. He could only look but not touch her. He felt quite tormented. Gale quickly fell into a deep sleep, leaving Shawn in a dilemma. He could not sleep, and he did not dare to move for fear of waking her. In the latter half of the night, he got up quietly and took a cold shower. The icy water trickling down his body cooled the heat within him. The next day, at the dining table, Nicole ate her custard while staring at her parents. Finally, unable to hold back, she asked, Daddy, did you sleep with Mommy last night? Yes. But why do you look so haggard and Mommy looks so energetic? Shawn pursed his lips and answered, Because when she sleeps at night, she always kicks the blanket away and I have to keep covering her. Oh, Nicole looked at Gale differently. Mommy, you're grown up. Why do you still kick the blanket away? I don't do that anymore, Nicole said. Shawn praised her. Yes, Nicole is amazing. Gale almost choked on her milk. What on earth? He dared to say that she kicked her blanket? She might just throw Shawn off the bed tonight. Chapter 1456. Don't listen to your daddy. I definitely didn't kick the blanket. I slept just fine. It was him who couldn't sleep and blamed me for it. Gale quickly defended herself. She even nudged Charm's arm, saying, "Didn't you say you didn't need my sleep sachet and you could sleep just fine by cuddling me? So why couldn't you sleep last night? It seems like you were lying to me." "Gale, you know why I couldn't sleep." She pursed her lips. "I understand, but you brought it upon yourself. Don't blame me. Explain to Nicole that I didn't kick the blanket." All right. Nicole, Mommy didn't kick the blanket." Nicole was speechless. How could she accept his lame explanation? It felt like Shawn was pressured to deny it. Nicole nodded. "Oh, got it. Daddy listens to Mommy. Daddy is henpecked." Gale almost choked. "Where did you learn that word?" "From my big brother." Ah, it was from Joshua. That made sense. He was the one who would say something like that. Shawn did not understand. Big brother? Which big brother? What big brother? Since when does Nicole have a big brother? "It's Joshua, my big brother. I call him that at school," Nicole replied. Shawn's hand trembled as he was holding his coffee cup. Endure. He had to endure. Joshua was infiltrating deeper and deeper into Nicole's life, and it seemed to be working. "By the way, Mommy and Daddy, can you both take me to kindergarten today?" Nicole asked. Shawn said, "Yes." Gale said, "No." "Huh? So can you or can you not?" Nicole was puzzled. "Nicole, I have to go to the hospital, and Daddy has to go to work. It's not on the way, okay? How about another day?" Gale explained. However, Shawn said, "We can drop Nicole off at school first, then take you to the hospital. After that, I can go to the office afterward." It seemed possible. However, it would waste a lot of time. Moreover, it was the early morning rush hour, so they might be stuck in traffic. The entire morning could be spent on the road. Shawn was a person with countless responsibilities. Gale wanted to refuse, but when she saw his eyes, she silently swallowed her words. Well, if he wanted to drive them and show off his consideration and care, she would let him. Hopefully, when the time comes, Fiona will not complain to her about how Shawn's workload has piled up. "Hospital? Mommy, what happened to you? Are you sick? Where does it hurt? Is it serious?" Nicole became nervous. "It's not. I'm going to the hospital to visit your grandma." Gale did not want to mention Matthew, so she brought up Mary. She did plan to visit her mom while she was at it. Nicole was puzzled. "Grandma? Mommy, but isn't Grandma already in heaven?" She remembered that Mommy had said that only Grandpa was still here and Grandma had gone to heaven. Gale also froze, suddenly not knowing how to explain it to Nicole. Her family's relationships were a bit too complex, and she was not sure if Nicole could understand. "Nicole, the grandma who passed away was the one who raised me. The grandma I'm visiting today is the one who gave birth to me. Do you understand?" "So, Mommy, you have two mommies?" Chapter 1457. Yes. "Do you have two grandpas too?" After some thought, Gale nodded. "Yes." She was a bit nervous, fearing that Nicole would ask questions she could not answer. Thankfully, Nicole just smiled and said, "Mommy, you're so lucky." "Lucky?" She was somewhat puzzled. "Yes, you have two daddies and two mommies, so you can receive double the love. 4 people love you at the same time, plus Daddy and me. Wow, Mommy, you're surrounded by love," Nicole said. Gale was amused by her daughter's thought process. They have vivid imagination and tend to see things in a very positive light. The darkness and evils of the Yarn family had no place in Nicole's world. Yes, I'm so fortunate to have the love of two daddies and two mommies, Gale replied. So, mommy, you also have a mommy and a daddy now. That's right. Nicole quickly finished her custard and smacked her lips. I only need one daddy and one mommy because you're both very good to me. I don't need an extra daddy and mommy. Shawn was amused by his daughter's words. He pulled out a napkin to wipe her mouth and said, That's right. Daddy and mommy will always be with you, even as you grow up. No, no. Even after I grow up, I will still be with you too. I won't leave, Nicole corrected. But as you grow up, we'll get older. That's when I'll take care of you. I'll be with you as you grow old. Gale's heart was melting. Our Nicole is really filial, Shawn chimed in. Nicole, when you grow up, you'll get married and start a family. You'll move out of the house and live with your husband. By then, how much space will there be in your heart for daddy and mommy? He had a feeling that his daughter was the type that would be giddily in love. You could tell from her attitude toward Joshua. Probably when she grew up and fell in love, she would be clinging to her husband every day, and her dear old father would be forgotten. Gale gave him a reproachful look. That's all 20 years from now, Shawn. You're getting jealous too early. I can't help it. Raising a daughter is hard. The thought of her of getting married and leaving is really hard to accept. If the marriage were happy, it would be somewhat more bearable. If it was not, no, in the whole of City, who would dare to bully Shawn's daughter? Who could marry the rich young daughter from the Wood family? Every family would consider it a blessing to have her as a daughter-in-law. Gil changed the topic. It's too early for that. In the future, you should keep a close eye on your daughter's prospects. Don't let any scoundrel succeed. I think Joshua is a scoundrel. Gil was speechless. As they chatted, Nicole carefully wrapped the sandwich on the table in aluminum foil and put it in her little backpack. Shawn happened to see it. Nicole, aren't you full? Why do you want to take one to kindergarten? He asked. No, this is for my big brother. I think this sandwich is really delicious, and I want him to try it too. Shawn's heart, as a father, once again was shattered. Nicole never shared anything delicious with him, but she remembered to do so with Joshua. Next to them, Gale saw what was happening and handed a bottle of fresh milk to Nicole, saying, Take this to your big brother as well. All right, Mommy. Chapter 1458. Shawn pursed his lips, his face looking very displeased. Throughout the drive, he seemed rather moody and was not very talkative. Upon reaching the kindergarten, Nicole waved and said, Goodbye, Daddy and Mommy. She got out of the car and headed toward her classroom, but seemed to suddenly forget something. She ran back quickly. Gil lowered the car window and said, Is there something else, Nicole? Forget to tell you, Mommy. I also want to go to see Grandma. I've never met her, and she doesn't know me. Why haven't you arranged for me to meet Grandma? Nicole said, looking up. Gale smiled. I didn't think about it. I'm sorry, Nicole. We'll go see Grandma this weekend, okay? Nicole nodded, content. Okay, bye. She turned around and trotted back to her classroom. Watching Nicole's retreating figure, Gale quickly began planning the meeting in her mind. She did not want to take only Nicole to meet Mary. Joshua should come along too. After some thought, Gale came up with a good solution. That weekend, she would take Nicole and then have Peter take Joshua to visit Mary in her hospital room. That way, it would be a family reunion, which made perfect sense. Peter and Mary could also meet. What are you thinking about? What's making you so happy? Shawn started the car, saying, Your smile is so wide. Oh, I just thought a mom would definitely be happy when she sees Nicole. When she's happy, I'm happy too. Gale had come to understand Nicole. Seeing her mother happy truly made her happy. Even though she was an adult, her mother's presence allowed her to show filial piety. When you're happy, I'm happy, Shawn said. She turned to look at him and gave him a sweet smile. Gale was looking forward to the weekend reunion, a complete family with no one left behind. It was a picture she had dreamed of, and she never expected it to happen so soon. She was immersed in her own joy, completely disregarding Shawn's sulky expression. When they reached the hospital, she moved to get out of the car, but Shawn suddenly grabbed her wrist. Are you just going to leave like this? Gale turned to look at him. Huh? Is there something else? Did she leave something behind? I've been your driver for so long, and there's no gratuity for me? Gale finally understood. Shawn, are you acting like a child? He did not say a word but continued holding her wrist, his expression saying, I won't let go unless you compensate me. Gale leaned in closer, close enough to see his eyelashes. Shawn, when did you become a child? Will you or won't you? I will. How much money do you want? Gale said. Shawn met her gaze. I don't need money. You know what I want, Gale. Gale quickly pecked him on the cheek. Is that okay? She smiled helplessly. Shawn raised his eyebrows. No, you dismissed me like this last night, and you want to dismiss me again today? Hey, Shawn, you should behave. We're in public. Just as she finished speaking, they heard the sound of a car horn from behind. Honk, honk, honk. Someone was getting impatient. Gale was not interested in fooling around. All right, let's talk about it when we get home. I need to... No. Chapter 1459. Shawn lowered his head and kissed her red lips. Gale was forced to tilt her head back and accept his kiss. She did not resist. She thought, get it over with quickly. It was the hospital entrance. People were coming and going, and anyone walking by the car could see what was happening inside. After about 20 seconds, Gale gently patted Shawn's shoulder, signaling that it was taking too long. However, he did not let her go. What should she do? Shawn, As she spoke, he got even more passionate. Gale tightly closed her eyes, her heart pounding rapidly. She wished this would end soon. She had been so cooperative, and yet he did not seem satisfied. Just then, there was a knock on the car window. Knock, knock, knock. A voice from outside said, Why are you parking your car here? There's a line behind you. Can you move it? This is a passageway, not a parking spot. Gale closed her eyes even more tightly. Oh no, how embarrassing. Someone was getting impatient. Knock, knock, knock. The voice outside the car window sounded again. Hey, can you hear me? If you don't move soon, I'll call the traffic police to tow your car. Gale pushed Shawn away. He finally let her go after an intense kiss, even wiping her lips with his hand. Gale was both amused and annoyed, but mostly embarrassed. She did not know what to say to him. She lowered her head and almost shrunk into her seat. Thankfully, the car windows were tinted and did not allow outsiders to see too clearly on the inside, though the front windshield was quite clear. Shawn returned to the driver's seat, lowered the window, and looked at the people outside. I will leave, he said casually. Perhaps because Shawn had such a commanding presence, the owner of the other car hesitated. His tone also softened. I was trying to give you a gentle reminder since you're blocking the road. I didn't think anyone was inside. Upon saying that, the man's eyes turned to Gale. It was a luxury vehicle. The male driver clearly appeared to be affluent. He could not afford to offend them, so he calmed down. The woman looked delicate and pampered too. Shawn quickly raised the car window. He knew that she was easily embarrassed and would feel uncomfortable. "Get out," Shawn said. Gale pinched him hard, exasperated. "You want me to get out here now?" "This is the hospital entrance. It's convenient for you to go in," he explained. "I don't want to. You're blocking the road, kissing me here. The owner of the other car came to knock on the window. If I get out now, everyone will be looking at me. I can't bear it," Gale said. She felt embarrassed at the thought of walking into the hospital amidst the gaze of onlookers. Shawn chuckled softly. "Then how do you want me to handle it?" "Drive to the underground parking garage. I'll take the elevator from the basement directly to the upper floor." He maneuvered the steering wheel with one hand and held her with the other, saying, "All right, stop pinching me. It hurts." "Can you feel the pain? I thought you had thick skin." "You're pinching really hard. It's definitely painful." Gaily, "I'm your dear husband, so be gentle." Chapter 1460. She was both angry and amused. If she had known that she needed to provide compensation, she would have preferred to take a taxi. Before getting out of the car, Shawn reminded her, "If you need anything, call me. Don't handle everything on your own." "I know," she replied. "Don't let yourself be wronged either. I can't bear to see you wronged." "They don't have the right to make you feel that way," Shawn said. Gale nodded. She felt full of strength. A good spouse can indeed alleviate most of life's hardships. When she arrived at the door of the ward, Gale heard Heather yelling from inside. "Why are you so useless? You couldn't even save our daughter, and now you're lying here, making me take care of you. If it weren't for Mr. Lefting's kindness, we would be sleeping on the streets. Do you know how expensive these medicines are? They're all imported. Oh, Matthew, what kind of bad luck did I have in my previous life? I've agreed to live in the shadows as an insignificant person, and yet I still managed to end up in such a situation. Come on, take your medicine." Following that, there was the sound of a bowl shattering. Heather screamed, followed. "Ah, what are you doing? You're throwing things and getting angry at me? Matthew, let me be clear. I'm the only one by your side now. If you make me leave, I'd like to see who'll take care of you. Look at this. The medicine spilled everywhere, on the floor, on the bed sheets, and even on your clothes. I'll have to wash it all by hand. You're in a regular hospital room, not the high-end VIP room. Who do you think you are, throwing a tantrum like a lord? Do you still think you're as prosperous as before?" Gale listened with a frown and pushed the door open. Matthew and Heather both turned to look at her. Matthew gave a slight smile. "Gale, it's you. You've come." "Oh, the big shot is here. It's quite rare. This hospital room has become quite upscale," Heather said sarcastically. Gale ignored Heather's attitude and picked up a broom that was placed in the corner, cleaning up the broken pieces on the floor. Heather was quite surprised. She had always thought that Gale, as pampered lady from a wealthy family, would not be able to do this kind of manual labor. However, Gale was very skilled and efficient, quickly cleaning up the mess. Afterward, she took some tissues and wiped the stains from Matthew's clothes. "When you were young, you chose Heather from among many women. Now you are lashing out at her?" "I didn't intentionally break the bowl. Just now, she handed me the medicine, and I couldn't hold the bowl properly, so it slipped and broke," Matthew explained. "I didn't lash out on her," he continued. Shaking his head and sighing, Gale looked at Heather and asked, "Do we have any more medicine? Bring another bowl." This medicine took a while to be mixed and concocted by the pharmacist. "You can just get a fresh bowl as you please. We'd have to mix it again. Do you know how hot and stuffy the pharmacy is? How unpleasant the smell is?" Heather replied.